Hi, I'm Cindy Lancaster, and I'm the librarian at Boaz Elementary School.
Cindy's actually my Sunday school teacher. We lead worship together. My associate pastor's wife, so we know each other pretty well. And so I thought I'd interview her for this because she incorporates technology, and I see that a lot on Facebook. So I thought she was the right lady for the job. I have a few questions for you about technology in your classroom. First one is, what are some difficulties of using technology in your classroom?
Well, the biggest challenge is when the technology just happens to not work. And a lot of times this is due to the infrastructure or the internet connection. And when a device or the internet does not work, then your whole lesson seems like it falls apart because it might be revolving around that one thing. It can be very frustrating, but you just have to find a way to adjust and choose to teach the topic a different way, or to just reschedule the way you do your lessons. At the lower elementary school, the worry for me is not so much about them using their own personal devices because they don't have them, but it's keeping them safe while they're on iPads or Chromebooks. So one way to do that is to use the guided access, or you might call it a kiosk mode, to lock the students on a certain app on an iPad. You can do that by clicking the home button like 3 times quickly once you open that app, and it will keep that app open for the students, and that's all that they can access. Some schools have programs called Go Guardian or Tech Pilot Control, and that allows the teachers to use their computers to like lock students on certain websites or apps, and that's really helpful. But you have to have money in your system for that to happen. And with my young students, I just try to keep their iPads with just a few educational apps, not loaded down with lots of different options for them. And I definitely make sure there's no internet browser app for them to just click on, or any kind of a YouTube app that they can click on and just start searching like they might at home. And the simplest tip for me is to make sure you have set clear expectations for your students, and do your best to have them close to you when they're using that technology. Keep them in your line of sight. Okay.
Thank you. Do you use technology for behavior management, and how so?
Okay. As a librarian, I do not personally use technology for their behavior management, but I know a lot of elementary teachers in our school do. And they use the Class Dojo app. I don't know if you've heard of that. And it allows them to, give their students points for positive feedback for their good choices, or they can also take away some points for bad choices. Parents can install that app on their phone and then use a teacher code to log in, and then they can see their child's behavior without necessarily trying to ask the child, what happened. It allows open communications between the teachers and the parents, because the teacher can share photos that's happening in the classroom, or just send a comment just to that one parent, so they can talk back and forth with not necessarily having to share their phone numbers. So that's helpful. And as a librarian, I know that some of our teachers use Class Dojo, so I might tell them at the end of class, okay, these students have done excellent, and I would appreciate you, giving them a point, or whatever you do to reward them. So I use it in that way. And I've used it as a parent, and I find it to be very helpful and informative.
How has technology changed your teaching methods?
Well, I've been in education for a long time, first as an elementary teacher, and it has come a long way. We're doing things that I never imagined that I would do several years ago. In the library, much has changed as how we teach our students and the opportunities that we need to offer them at an early age. So I teach kindergarten and first grade students, and also pre-K, but I show them how to access our school ebooks online, and how to go through our website to access those at home. So that's something that I never would have taught my students 15, 20 years ago. And instead of using reference books, our students use online resources. We used to have a whole section of reference books. That's not there really anymore. And they have to learn how to use those sources, figure out which ones are reliable, that are creditable for research, and how important it is to cite those sources and not to plagiarize, because everything's there at a touch of a button, and they think it's free to use, but they have to kind of learn those rules. My elementary students learn how to do online research through the Alabama Virtual Library. Here's that. PebbleGo is my favorite database on there. It's easy to use. It reads out loud to the students. It shows them pictures and videos. And I think that's a great and safe site. If they learn it at an early age, then they'll realize they'll use it all the way up through their college years too. You also have to teach students about online safety and cyberbullying, something that we didn't have to deal with years ago. In the library, something else I've added recently is that I've taught them how to self-check in and check out. They do that completely on their own with a touchscreen Chromebook. So that's really helpful for me, and it gives them some ownership, and they're really proud of themselves to be able to do that. In the classrooms, they're even using the camera on the Chromebooks to log in with Clever. I'm not sure if you've learned about that, but they'll have a QR code and they'll hold it up in front of the camera, and it automatically logs them into different things they would use, like their AR reader or other different websites that they're accessing, where they don't have to remember their username and their password. That just kind of logs them in universally. So that's something big that we've added this year. Libraries have embraced the makerspace movement, and I've tried to incorporate STEM and coding in the library, give the students opportunities for that. At this young age, I just tried to teach basic coding with our students, and I set a few out here, like VBots can be used for that. This Code and Go Mice, they work in a similar way. These are a lot more expensive, but the children especially love these because the little mouse is attracted to this cheese, and they think that's really cool. Plus, it comes with little cards to help them see how to lay out their code and to think through that. So before they're even using a computer, we're just trying to do some basic coding and step-by-step instructions with them. The other thing I love are the Osmos that you can use with iPads. They have word apps, math apps, and the Tangram app for spatial reasoning, and I use those all the time with our students. Also have some of the coding manipulatives that you can use, and that's something I pull in for our library time. We've also introduced robotics recently using this little Sphero bolt, and I've written a grant for next year hoping to get something called Cubelet robots. Those are really cool, and I want to try that out with our students. So it's all the time changing and evolving, and you're just trying to stay with it.
And what advice would you give to someone preparing to teach this new digital generation?
Well, most of all, you just need to be flexible and have a growth mindset for yourself as well as for your students. You're constantly going to be learning along with your students, and that's okay. It's going to be challenging, but it's really rewarding to see what all they're capable of doing. Even at a young age, if you just give them that opportunity, sometimes they can master it in no time.